Outrage inside Vatican Basilica. Man desecrates Vatican's St. Peter's Basilica altar during Holy Mass, shocking worshippers and tourists. In a shocking act of desecration, an unidentified man urinated on the altar of confession inside St. Peter's Basilica in Vatican City during 9 a.m. Holy Mass on Friday, leaving hundreds of tourists and worshippers horrified. Now let's explore this story in depth on today's AI podcast.
Welcome back. Today we're doing a deep dive into something really quite stunning, just in terms of sheer audacity. We're talking about an act of, well, profound public desecration inside one of the holiest places imaginable, St. Peter's Basilica in the Vatican.
Yeah, it's one of those moments that just throws into sharp relief the tension between this ideal of an open place of worship and, frankly, the reality of public disorder sometimes. Our main source here, detailed reporting from Corriere della Sera, gives us a pretty clear play-by-play of what happened recently, and it also points to a disturbing pattern. It seems like this specific spot keeps getting targeted.
Right, and that's our mission today, isn't it? To look beyond just the shocking headline. We want to understand why this place matters so much, why it keeps happening there, and what this all means for, like, security at a site that millions visit. And you really need to grasp the context here. This wasn't some hidden act. It happened recently during an active 9 a.m. Holy Mass. Hundreds of people, tourists, worshipers, they saw it all. Horrifying.
Absolutely. It's a stark reminder, isn't it, that even a space with centuries, millennia of reverence isn't immune to this kind of brazen act.
Okay, so let's get right into the narrative. What exactly happened? Reports say an unidentified man approached the main altar, the altar of confession, while Mass was going on.
That's right. He moved through the crowd, got right up to the altar, and actually climbed the steps right up to the altar of confession itself, all out in the open, people watching. During the service.
And then, well, this is the part that's just difficult to even process, given the setting.
Exactly. No warning, no sign, nothing. The man just suddenly dropped his trousers.
Yeah.
And proceeded to urinate.
Yeah.
Directly onto the altar. And witnesses say it wasn't quick. It was a sustained act right there.
On the very spot where the Pope usually celebrates Mass, the absolute symbolic heart of the Catholic Church. Wow. I mean, the reaction from people.
Sources describe just stunned silence, then gasps. People were there for Mass, for prayer, and then this. It must have been completely jarring. And, it's the 21st century. Phones came out immediately. People started recording, so the public nature of it was documented instantly.
So security, the Vatican police, how fast did they react?
Oh, immediately. They rushed him, pulled him away from the altar. But apparently there was this almost bizarre follow-up. As they were dealing with him, he bent down to pull his jeans up and inadvertently exposed himself again to the crowd before they finally got him under control and let him out.
Right.
Just added to the whole shocking scene.
Gosh, what a disturbing sequence. Okay, shifting gears slightly, what about the aftermath? Legally speaking, do we know who this person is?
Yeah.
Arrested, charged, because, anywhere else, desecrating a site like that, public indecency, charges would likely be immediate.
That's what's quite puzzling. There's been a real lack of official information. The Holy See Press Office hasn't issued a statement. We haven't seen confirmation in the reports about whether he was formally arrested or charged with anything. Desecration, public indecency, nothing confirmed.
That silence itself is interesting, isn't it? Is that standard, or does it suggest they're carefully managing the fallout from something so unique?
It's definitely unusual given how high profile the location is. What we do know, reportedly, is that word got to the top very quickly.
Yeah.
It seems Pope Leo XIV wasn't actually celebrating that specific Mass, but he was informed shortly after. And the reports say he was deeply shocked. So maybe the silence is just about figuring out the right response, both spiritual and legal.
Okay, to really understand that deep shock, we need to talk about why this specific altar, the altar of confession, is so incredibly important. It's not just any altar in a large church.
No, absolutely not. And the history, the spiritual significance here is key. This altar isn't just ornate. It's considered, arguably, the single holiest site within the Roman Catholic Church. And the reason is quite profound. It's built directly over what is traditionally held to be the tomb of St. Peter the Apostle himself.
So literally the foundation stone, the resting place of the first pope, the chief apostle, that's quite something.
Precisely. It's the core of papal tradition, the focal point for millions of pilgrims. When people visit St. Peter's, that's the spot. It represents, 2,000 years of history, of faith. So to profane that specific place It's seen as striking at the very spiritual heart of the institution.
And tragically, that very significance probably makes it a target, right? If you want maximum impact, maximum visibility for some kind of act, that's the place.
That's the incredibly difficult paradox, isn't it? The whole point is its openness, its welcome, but its symbolic power means it's vulnerable to these high-impact gestures,
Yeah.
whether it's protest or just disruption.
And this is where it gets even more concerning. Because looking at the sources, this isn't a one-off. This is the third major incident at this exact altar in little over a year. Let's connect those dots.
Yeah, looking back over the last, say, 18 months, there's a definite escalation. Just earlier this year, February 2024, another man climbed onto the altar and smashed 6 large candelabras. Just pure vandalism. Property damage.
Okay, so vandalism, damaging objects, probably not during Mass like this recent one.
Yeah.
Different kind of violation.
Right. But then go back a bit further, June 2023. That involved a Polish man who got onto the altar completely naked. His was clearly a protest, though. He had Save Children of Ukraine written on his back. So you see a spectrum, don't you? Political protest, then vandalism, and now this active desecration during worship.
The motives seem all over the place. Political statement, destruction, and now this latest act, which feels like sheer contempt.
It does seem to show that the Basilica is seen by some as, well, the ultimate stage, whether for a cause or just for causing offense. But the response to that 2023 incident, the nude protest, that's really important context here. It shows how seriously the Vatican takes these violations spiritually.
Tell us about that, because it's not just about calling the police, is it? There's a deeper layer.
Exactly. After the nude protest in 2023, the Vatican authorities decided the site needed spiritual cleansing. They actually conducted a solemn penitential rite to formally purify and reconsecrate the altar of confession.
Okay, for listeners maybe not familiar, penitential rite, what does that actually involve? Is it like a really thorough cleaning or something more?
Oh, much more. It's a formal liturgical act. It's an official acknowledgement that a spiritual offense occurred, not just a crime. It involves specific prayers, rituals, acts of purification designed to restore the sacred character of the place. To make it ritually clean and suitable for Mass again, it basically signifies the space was spiritually damaged or defiled.
Wow. So in the Church's view, the ground itself was tainted. It needed a spiritual reset before worship could properly resume there.
That's the implication, yes. And knowing that happened before, well, it puts this latest incident, especially happening during Mass, under an intense spotlight. The pressure on the authorities now must be huge.
So given this pattern, this escalation, the obvious question is what happens next? Security. They have to be reviewing security measures now. Surely this can't keep happening.
Well, absolutely. It seems unavoidable. When you have repeated desecrations at arguably the most sacred public site in Christianity, a security review isn't just likely, it's necessary. The current approach, which seems to rely more on general vigilance than, say, hard physical barriers close to the altar, clearly isn't stopping these sudden high-impact acts.
Which brings us to the real challenge, the core dilemma for the Vatican, right? You have this deep tradition of open access, welcoming millions of pilgrims, St. Peter's as a spiritual home for the world, versus the clear, urgent need for much tighter security.
That's the tightrope. It's a huge operational challenge, but also philosophical. How do you put in place the barriers you might need? Maybe gates, more visible guards, maybe even restricting access closer to the altar without fundamentally changing what the basilica is, turning it into something that feels less welcoming, more like a fortress that risks undermining its whole mission.
It's that tension, isn't it? Spiritual accessibility versus physical integrity. And it's fascinating that the response after 2023 was spiritual at the Christ, but the discussion now has to be about physical changes, security. That shows the bind they're in.
Exactly. Any physical change, however small, sends a message. It could imply the faithful aren't fully trusted in the same way near the holiest site, and that's a massive symbolic shift.
So wrapping this up for you, our listener, what's the key takeaway? Clearly, the altar of confession's immense spiritual weight makes it both revered and, tragically, a target. These repeated, escalating incidents are now forcing the Vatican to confront a hard reality. Its traditional model of open access needs a serious rethink.
And maybe here's the thought to leave you with, something to ponder based on all this. We know the last major incident required that penitential rite, that spiritual reconsecration. So the question becomes, how can the Vatican authorities possibly balance maintaining their profound spiritual integrity, which relies on openness, on ritual purity, while also implementing the kind of visible physical security that now seems essential to stop these acts, especially during something as sacred as Mass. That's the fundamental conflict, isn't it? Between the spirit of the place and the structures needed to protect it. That's the challenge they face now.
An incredibly complex balancing act for one of the world's oldest institutions. Thank you for helping us unpack the sources and the significance of this very difficult event today. And thank you for joining us for the deep dive.
Okay, one question for you. Who was the man involved in the desecration? And what could have motivated such an act? Don't forget to comment it. Thanks.